and welcome back to the 𝗧𝗶𝗺𝗀𝗀 podcast, where the cosmos meet the cards and the mundane becomes magical. I'm your host, 𝗧𝗶𝗺𝗀𝗀, and in this episode, we're continuing to talk through the transits and tarot for the second half of June. So let's fill your cup up until your soul full of it. We've arrived at the halfway point of the year, and suffice to say that there are so many big storylines currently unfolding in the multiverse. I mean, this is just not even going to scratch the surface of what's going on right now, astrologically, politically, the intersections there. Obviously, we have wars that are going on. We have another devastating plane crash recently in the news. We have massive political protests all over the country popping up. So June, here we are, middle of the year, checking in, halfway point, and there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to unfold, and this episode is not going to be all the politics and all of that that's going on, though if you get me started, that's a rabbit hole we can spend a lot of time in. We're going to highlight what's going on collectively, personally, for us, specifically those of you that are actually tuning in and listening to this podcast. Because not everything is constant chaos, but some of it absolutely is. And so I want to acknowledge that right at the start of this episode, that there is so much going on, while at the same time making sure that you know that this episode is going to help fill you up, because that is precisely what I always set out to do. So with all of that said, astrologically speaking, we're fresh off of the heels of the Sagittarius full moon, and clearly we're still feeling fiery. And you may also be thinking, but what about Jupiter's recent entry into Cancer? Wasn't that meant to feel sweet and like home? And to that I would say yes, and home is found in each other and without borders. And home is worth fighting for, isn't it? Jupiter makes everything that it touches bigger. And so our desire to protect our home and to protect our neighbors is bigger. Especially with the recent Jupiter-Saturn square that is still absolutely playing out all month long and into July. There's this tension between the drive to nourish and nurture, that's the Jupiter and Cancer of it all, against the harsh contrast of some of these outdated structures that are trying to power grab, that's the Saturn, now in Aries, of it all. And there are so many different avenues of adversity at this turning point moment in our world, in this midpoint of the year, 2025. So thank you, as always, for being here with me and trying to make some sense and some meaning out of all of this madness. I really want to chat about the transit still unraveling this June, but before we get there, let's tap the tarot, starting with, at the center for the wisdom or the rose, we pulled the devil. Now, in the traditional Smith Rider-Waite deck imagery, we see a devil image looming large and shadowy atop of a pedestal with two figures, seemingly man and woman, naked and chained, standing beneath him. At first glance, the two naked individuals appear to be bound, but if you look a little bit closer, you'll notice that their chains are actually quite loose. The devil holds a torch in one hand and has this inverted pentagram crown above him, signaling a distorted sense of power. The heart of this episode, the devil of it all, asks us to face our attachments, our compulsions, our patterns that are keeping us stuck in loops of self-sabotage. What are you chained to out of habit, fear, or comfort? This card invites us to become intimate with our inner saboteur. Not to shame it, but to liberate it. That's why my word for this card is always liberation. And I believe I said that back in February on our episode that we had guest co-host Kaylin on for, because that was actually the last time that we pulled this card. Back in February, though, we pulled it as the basis or the root, whereas now it's the center or the rose, and it's less of a past tense and more of a present tense invitation. It's not the old stories that used to influence us that we need to have in mind, as much as it is doing an internal audit of the old stories that are still currently influencing us. The patterns that are so deeply embedded that we may not have even realized until now how much our current world is being colored by something that came and went, something in the past. Last episode we talked about Byron Katie. I feel like that's still very relevant here with the tarot that we pulled for the rest of June, and of course it is. It's the same month, just another week, looking at things through a different lens. And the devil isn't just darkness. The devil is an invitation to reclaim our power from the things that we've given it away to. It's a reminder that we can choose differently, especially now. Then, crossing the devil for our attention, or the thorns on the rose, we pulled the Two of Pentacles. Now, the imagery of this card shows a jester-like figure who seems to be dancing while juggling two pentacles that are connected by an infinity symbol. In the background, waves rise and fall, tossing ships about. It's a reminder that our emotions often fuel our movements, and that can make for a very wild ride. This card crosses the devil as a call to rebalance. It shows up as the challenge of this episode, asking us to consider if we are dancing between too many roles, maybe with too many responsibilities and too many emotional highs and lows. Are we really managing it, or are we barely staying afloat? The Two of Pentacles is a card that says, you simply cannot do it all. So choose wisely, or you will burn out. The astrology right now is really encouraging us to be picky about where and into whom we pour our time, energy, and resources into. Multitasking can lead to misalignment. Prioritizing what truly matters is important. Letting go of the performance and dropping into presence is where you will find the power. Next, we have, at the root for the basis, we pulled the Queen of Wands. The queen is seated on a golden throne adorned with lions and sunflowers. And the Queen of Wands holds a blossoming staff in one hand and a sunflower in the other. A black cat sits at her feet, symbolizing intuition, mystery, and magic. The Queen of Wands has been called the Witch of the Tarot by so many tarot readers, and I have to agree that I find it to be a very fitting nickname, as she often comes up when it's time to make magic happen. In the root position, this fiery queen burns beneath the surface of this episode as the hidden foundation, our innate radiance, confidence, and charisma calling us forward. She reminds us that even when things feel chaotic or heavy, hello, the devil card, there is still a deep well of self-assuredness that lives within you, and your magic is limitless. I also have to say that the imagery of this, her holding the sunflower in her hand, is not something I remembered about this card, and I just find it so perfectly serendipitous that the imagery of the podcast art, I have actually focused on sunflowers. And ironically, the one for this episode is a woman holding one in her hand. And I didn't pull this card yet when I had come up with that idea. So I just think that's really cool that the Witch of the Tarot, the Queen of Wands, was already in my mind's eye when I was putting this episode together before I even pulled her. But she's very intuitive and she's very magnetic. She's also not afraid to be seen. So I think if you've been hiding or you've been dimming your light out of fear or just pure overwhelm, then the Queen of Wands is here to help do what the devil wants to do as well and help liberate you. Asking, what are you really waiting for? Let yourself be visible. Let yourself be fierce. Let yourself be soulful of heart. It's about to be Cancer season, after all. And lastly, for our guidance or the sun, we pulled the Ace of Cups. A divine hand emerges from a cloud holding a golden chalice that is overflowing with water in the traditional Smith-Rider-Waite imagery. We also see 5 streams of water spilling out of the cup into a serene pool of what appears to be water lilies below. A white dove is descending into the cup At the top of the card, symbolizing peace and a spiritual connection, especially with that emotional, watery, water sign vibe that we've got going on here with the Ace of Cups. The Ace of Cups is one of my all-time favorite cards. It was actually my original favorite card as a teenager, so many, many moons ago. And in this episode, it's our guiding light. It's a reminder that healing and emotional renewal are always available. Our emotional compass is at the forefront as we get closer to Cancer season. And this card pours love and grace all over this entire spread, saying to us, let softness lead. Let tenderness wash over everything that feels jagged or heavy. Say yes to the moments that open your heart up. As I've said before, joy belongs to you. And this card reminds us that joy is our birthright, not something that we have to earn through struggle. Now that we've talked about the tarot, I really want to talk about the transits, but I have one more card I pulled that I just feel must be acknowledged. And I do find it ironic that this oracle deck that I pulled a card from, that I'll be reading for us all to sink our teeth into, including me, I enjoy always the second, third, fourth, a millionth time that I've read an oracle card from its book, because I always get something different out of it each time, depending on what context, what season of my life I'm currently in. But the irony of this deck in particular is that I had gotten it when I was in Santa Cruz with Kaylin. So shout out to Kaylin, because she is the person that I did the episode with in February when we last pulled the devil. So I feel like we're kind of coming full circle here with the irony of that repeat card showing up for us to kind of integrate further now that we're in June. You know, what has happened in the last 4 months for you, right? And like what really matters, what's calling your attention forward, that is what this card is all about. So the oracle deck is called Unlocking the Secret Garden Oracle. The card that I pulled is number 42, and it is simply titled Priorities. The imagery of this card is beautiful and floral, like all of the cards are, and it has a grasshopper in the center, which as soon as I saw that, I was thinking like, young grasshopper, listen to me, the old wise, whatever, like I'm gonna go learn some karate now. Anyways, this is what it has to say, and I quote, "It's time to reevaluate your priorities. Do you value love, intimacy, peace, laughter, connection? Or do your actions reveal that you value comfort, security, or pleasing others at the expense of your inner peace?" Ouch, I'm feeling called out. Evaluating how well your actions line up with your values is key. If you're breathing a little and calling it a life, it's time to reconsider your priorities and stroke the fires of your creativity. Deciding what and who gets your attention puts you at the hearth fire of your life. You deserve that warm glow. Shots fired, am I right? I mean, what are your priorities? That's it. It's that simple. And it's card number 42, which 4 plus 2 is 6, and 6 in numerology is a number of expansion. And there's a whole lot of Jupiter up in this episode with Jupiter and Cancer season coming, and all the things that we're about to be talking about with the transits. So I don't want to take too much more time on this oracle card, but felt like I really needed to share it. So I hope that brought something extra to you. And without further ado, let's dive into the transits, starting with on Tuesday, the 17th, Mars enters Virgo. Now, Mars, of course, is the planet of drive, aggression, motivation, and its entry into the detail-oriented sign of mutable Earth, Virgo, is helping us clean things up, both literally and energetically. This transit invites us to take aligned action, but with precision. Mars in Virgo isn't about going for the dramatic leaps. It's more so about taking the small, smart steps that build momentum that can be maintained over time. We can utilize this Mars transit over the next 6 weeks to refine our plans, declutter, and get organized. It's a great time for garage sales and hitting Goodwill to drop things off before you accumulate more stuff, and also moving forward towards our goals and our ambitions with intention. And with Virgo ruling the 6th house, themes around health, routines, service, those things are especially activated right now. So take notice where your energy wants to flow with more efficiency, very Virgoan, and get Virgoing. I feel like that pun just kind of set itself up for me. Then on the very next day, Wednesday, June 18th, we have Jupiter squaring Neptune. This standalone square brings a boost of energy, inspiring us to reach for the moon with optimism as our fuel, but also keep a steady head so as to not get totally lost in the clouds. Jupiter in Cancer encourages us to nurture our big visions, especially those that have emotional connections, impacts, and significance. Meanwhile, Neptune, now in Aries, blurs the boundaries of what is truly worth putting our energy towards that will elicit actual outcomes and not just more daydreams. We may be feeling generous, for example, but do we really have the resources necessary to donate the time or energy that we're feeling so inspired to contribute? Generosity I mentioned because it's a hallmark of Jupiter and Neptune transits and aspects, because they can bring about altruism. And yet this aspect is also a nudge to remain discerning and be careful not to bite off more than we can chew. It's a beautiful moment to dream, imagine, and reconnect to ideals, but also to check in with ourselves before making major commitments. Sometimes what looks like a soul-aligned opportunity is actually just another sleight of hand illusion, dressed up in idealism. And sometimes it's not, right? So just having that pause. Is this really what I have to give? Is this really what I want to do? Just sleep on it. Sleep on it for a night. If you're not sure, wake up in the morning, have a cup of coffee, cup of tea, glass of water, whatever is your flavor, process it, then make the decision then. It's less of an impulse energy. I think that's kind of the key here. Then the next transit we have is on Friday the 20th, the sun enters Cancer, which marks the summer solstice and the official start of the season. This is, of course, the longest day of the year in the Northern Hemisphere, and it's known to be a celebration of light and life because, of course, the sun signifies life. Cancer season reconnects us to our emotions, our intuition, and the meaning of home, however we choose to define it. Let this be a sacred reset. Asking yourself, what kind of space are you creating for your own growth? What kind of warmth are you offering to yourself and to others? What kind of home are you inhabiting? And how can you make it an even better safe haven? I love the summer solstice as it feels like such a peak moment in the year where you're looking back to January and seeing how far you've come, and also looking forward towards December and imagining how much more you will grow and learn by the time we reach the winter solstice on the other end of the year. Cancer season opens us up wide to receive intuitive downloads and to purge the emotions that we may have harbored that are ready to be released, to create space for more creativity and connection to take root. This summer solstice energy is buzzing and hopeful, and we need that. We need hope now more than ever. So happy summer solstice. And right after that, following the official start of the summer season, we have on Sunday the 22nd, Mars will sextile Jupiter. Now this is action with blessing. Mars in Virgo gets a boost of optimism and expansion from Jupiter in Cancer. This supportive sextile is all about putting heart into motion, something you've been working hard towards, especially something that's grounded in healing, service, caregiving, gets a gentle green light from this energy. Notice what starts flowing more easily today. There's a sense of right place, right time if you're paying attention and following the signs. Then, just before the new moon, on Tuesday, the 24th, we have the sun conjunct Jupiter, a cazimi, which occurs when a planet is within the heart of the sun, amplifying its energy and clarity. With Jupiter here, the themes of growth, faith, and emotional expansion are in the spotlight. You may receive a flash of insight about where you're being invited to grow, soften, or believe again. This is your cosmic permission slip to imagine more for yourself, but to do it from a deeply rooted place of emotional truth. It's a great day to journal, meditate, or even to share something with somebody that you love and trust that's been weighing on your heart. Then it is back to quality stargazing in the night sky, because on Wednesday, the 25th of June at 3:31 a.m. Pacific time, we have the new moon in Cancer at 4 degrees. The Cancer new moon invites a fresh start from the heart. This lunation is tender, intuitive, and deeply personal. Think of it as a cosmic cocoon where you can plant seeds of nourishment, soulful connection, and emotional security. The Cancer new moon is also, of course, conjunct Jupiter, which of course is something that we just touched on with the Sun-Jupiter cazimi. This gives us an extra dash of luck on the intentions that we set and the seeds we plant on this particular new moon. So you'll really want to look at where you have Cancer in your chart to get a sense of where this renewal is rooted so that you can get the most lemonade out of these lemons. Now, the recent Jupiter-Saturn square, which is really a Jupiter square to both Saturn and Neptune, as they are still only 1 degree apart in Aries, continues to influence the astrology and the backdrop of this new moon. We're marinating in the tension coming from illusions, or Neptune, and reality, or Saturn, confronting each other while also challenging the big, lucky, watery Jupiter and Cancer vibrations. I'm pretty sure I've quoted this before, but there is an Above and Beyond song titled Sun and Moon, which, quick pause just to acknowledge how the new moon is indeed a conjunction between the sun and the moon. Anyways, there's a lyric in that song that I feel really resonates for this particular new moon that goes, "And when the big wheel starts to spin, you can never know the odds. If you don't play, you'll never win." I love that lyric, and I think it's precisely what is unfolding here. High risk perhaps can lead to high rewards, and yes, perhaps even regret on the other side of things. But no risk, that's almost a surefire sentence for no reward. So with this new moon, I think it's time to roll some dice. And we have support with trying our luck, as the new moon is also in a sextile aspect, of course, to Mars and Virgo that we just acknowledged. And that is helping us get going by making some calculated moves. It's the ping of intuition saying it's a good idea to run the probability on the lottery tickets and then buy the one that favors a win with better odds just based on the math of it. That's the Virgo and Mars movement right here behind the scenes of this new moon in Cancer, encouraging us to start small but stay consistent and move continuously, even if it's just at a very slow speed. Crawling is still progress forward. You don't have to walk. You don't have to run. And the big dreams that we are dreaming on this new moon, they're going to take time to harvest. So why rush it? The Cancer new moon feels really supportive, emotional, and yes, a bit lucky. It's a perfect lunation to set intentions at home, about your home even, or focusing on healing, family, or cultivating your own inner sanctuary. This new moon can remind us that there is triumph to be found within tenderness, and there is fortune to behold within our fortresses, regardless of whether we're sleeping in a car or in a castle off of the Rhine. We are all our own greatest homes within ourselves. We are all we need. That is the vibe. That is the Cancer new moon message. And of course, it's also another Above and Beyond quote if you happen to pick up what I'm putting down. Now, with all of that said, we wrap up this month's notable astrological transits with Mercury entering fiery fixed sign Leo. And Mercury in Leo this time around is going to last longer than is typical about 2 months actually, and that is due to the upcoming retrograde. That's right, you heard me say it, retrograde. So get your plans in order. We'll be talking about it in the July episode, but this is your heads up that the retrograde is indeed coming, as it so often does, about 3 times a year. Anyways, Mercury in Leo is going to have us speaking up and saying what we need, saying what we want, being more expressive. If you haven't been to karaoke in a while, this is the time. I'm saying that for you, but I'm also saying that for me. I love karaoke. I mean, I am Carrie, and I'm okay with that. That is a very old joke. If you know me, you've heard me say it before. Anyways, Mercury in Leo is going to be all about self-expression, and not just with the way that we say things out of our mouths, like not just the words that we say, but also with our bodies. And I think this transit in particular is great for saying things with your body language and your expression through even like dance. There is more than one way to say what you're trying to say, and people hear things differently sometimes when they see them rather than hear them. And I think Mercury in Leo is going to be a really great transit for us to get playful with the way that we say the things that we want to say, and also how we receive the information that we want to receive. Maybe you're a person who typically listens to podcasts like I am. I mean, you're listening to a podcast right now. Maybe you want to consume information differently during this transit. Maybe you would rather see it with your eyes and have it be visual, or pick up a book or something of that sort. I think that this is going to be just a very playful transit. And that's one of the words that I have chosen for this year. I mean, it's really my primary word for the year of 2025 is play. And so it feels like that is the thing I need to highlight here with this particular transit. And in wrapping up this episode, honestly, because that is the very last thing that I had on my list for us to chat about. Wrapping up our second spiral journey through the tarot and the astrology of June 2025. Thank you, as always, for sharing and co-creating this silly yet sacred space with me. Whether you're sunset chasing, moonlight howling, or simply breathing through the beauty and the chaos of being alive, the sky is always speaking, and I'm grateful to help translate its messages for you, with a little help, of course, from our tarot teachers, which, speaking of, bring us reminders to question our stories with the devil, reconsider where our focus is going with the Two of Pentacles and the Priorities card from the Secret Garden Oracle, cultivate and share our magic with the Queen of Wands, and open up our hands and hearts to receive the good things that are coming with the Ace of Cups. We'll be back in July with a whole new round of cosmic invitations. We've got Mercury retrograde, of course, coming. Uranus is entering Gemini for the first time in over 80 years, and both Saturn and Neptune will be beginning their retrograde journeys. So much is shifting. So much. Both in the stars and within us. So until next time, stay grounded, stay curious, and keep your cup soul full of it. I'll chat with you then.